Hello, everyone. This is Coach Tim Campsall, and I'm excited to have a fellow business owner from Indiana with us today. Something unique about my guest is she was the first girl to play in an all-boys football league when she was 8. In her downtime, she enjoys kickboxing and relaxing on the boat in the summer. And she is most proud of having a business that is led by and made up of strong, talented women. It's my pleasure to welcome Rebecca to the show today. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Tim. Good morning.
All right. Well, hey, let's start with having you introduce yourself. Tell us your full name and a little bit of your personal story, like where you were born, live, and about your family.
My name's Rebecca Dutcher. I'm actually from West Michigan, the Grand Rapids area. I did live in Indiana for a couple years. That's where I started my business. But I'm now back in West Michigan. I have a brother that's a year younger than me, which is how I got into football in the first place because we were always roughhousing. I've been married 25 years this fall. I've to my husband Steve, and our son is 20. And we have a few dogs always that we love. And like you said, in my spare time when I'm not working, I'll be at the gym kickboxing or hanging out on our boat in the summer.
So tell us a little bit more about being on an all-boys football team.
Well, at 8 years old, it was a lot of fun and a lot of challenges at the same time. My parents tried to get me to do the cheerleading, but that was boring. I didn't like all the girls. My brother broke his arm. I may have pushed him off the swing set. So he couldn't practice or play. So I got to suit up, and I was such a tomboy. People thought we were twin boys for a long time anyway. So I got to just practice with the team for the rest of that season, all while trying to kind of fight the organization to let girls play. So it took a lot of parents and coaches and persistence to get to play. Um, I always wanted to be a center, but no boy would take a snap from me at that age. But for the most part, my team was pretty cool with me. The others, not so much. They called us a bunch of girls, but we showed them on the field.
That's awesome. Very cool story. Well, hey, Rebecca, is there a funny story that your family likes to tell about you that you'd be willing to share with us today?
Oh gosh, there's several. One that my mom always likes to share since I am a bit competitive. I did dance when I was younger, and I think I was about 5, and we had a recital. And I was the first one finished. I was so proud telling my mom I was the first one done, and she was kind of like, "That's not how it's supposed to work. You're all supposed to be doing the same thing." So from there, she knew I would be a bit competitive in anything I did.
That's awesome. Well, hey, tell us, how did the business come about, and at what point did you have the confidence that you could run your own business?
Sure. Well, I worked for agencies for about 15 years before I started Red 66. I had worked for 3 different agencies. Some were in web development and SEO. Others were more about brand and really high-end creative. And another was about integrated communications, kind of PR. Uh, from roles from business development, building relationships with a lot of clients, and then account management, account executive, and then starting a digital division at the integrated PR firm. I got to dabble in a lot of different things. One thing that remained were the relationships, especially those that I had with clients. So a lot of clients moved with me from agency to agency. And I was on the board for Grow. It's a women's organization in West Michigan to help women start and grow their own business. Now they're actually a micro lender, a CDFI.
Hmm.
And I was on that board for about 7 years, and the CEO at the time encouraged me. She said, you've built business, these 3 agencies, you've helped them grow 30 to 40% every year. Clients are moving with you.
Hmm.
Why don't you hang out your own shingle?
Yeah.
And we'll help you. You know you can do it. We'll help you. So that was what started it. I thought about it for about 6 months and kicked around names and things like that.
Yeah.
And then finally, it was in Indiana at a co-working space where it was very entrepreneurial driven. I met a few people there that also helped me. So I got all my ducks in a row and launched it in November 2016.
Very cool. So tell us a little bit more about the company. What's the name? What do you guys do? How do you help folks?
Sure. The name is RED66 Marketing. Red because I love red, a powerful color, red hair. 66 was actually my number when I was the first girl
Mm.
to play football. So that's where that came from. Fun story. Um, and so, what we do when I started, it was, me and some subcontractors and a few clients who had been with us and are still with us today. And as I grew, I did some websites, did some marketing. Over the last 3 to 4 years, we grew 40% every year. So we continue to grow. We have a fun niche with independently owned uniform and linen rental companies, some of the best people on the planet that we get to work with. So as we grew, we added staff, we added systems. I also had a couple of key coaches and mentors that really helped me because it was just before 2020, I felt stuck. Like it was me and two people. Like, what are we doing here? We're just kind of doing whatever comes in,
Yeah.
no real like vision. So it was really getting a couple coaches to help us get more intentional on where we're going, how we're going to get there, who our target audience is, and what we should be charging.
Yeah, very cool. So, what type of services do you provide? What are the different ways that you help folks?
We are digital first.
Okay.
So, in that, we see your website as a hub for all of your marketing and lead generation these days. Most of our clients are business to business and lead gen.
Okay.
So, that's got to have the strongest foundation from a search engine standpoint and a good user experience. And then it goes into all the ongoing marketing things. So, having and building your brand through social media, continuing to keep the site fresh,
Mhm.
email marketing to customers, and then to key prospects, and then that moves into like sales enablement and paid ads. And then there's collateral and presentations and videos and all these other things that kind of grew with it. So, we've added we a couple years ago added a creative director because we do a lot of like vehicle truck wraps,
Mhm.
billboards, and things like that now. So we like to say we can be the fractional marketing team from, CMO strategy to the actual execution for our clients.
Yeah, that's awesome. And are there certain types you mentioned the uniforms? Are there certain types of industries that you focus on, or is it anybody that you can help?
Um, we a few industries where we have a good foothold, a lot of manufacturing and industrial, hydraulic fittings, fluids, industrial fluids, tool and die components, LED lighting, the uniforms, but also professional services. So we work with, a mental health care place, a few other business consultants and coaches, anyone that, typically sales driven, little to no marketing in house,
Yeah.
but they know digital marketing, staying active and building that lead pipeline and helping generate and close sales. Um, we work with, again, a single person to a $50 million a year company.
Awesome. Very cool. Hey, Rebecca, share a story where someone pushed you or inspired you that you could do it, even though maybe you didn't think that you could, and the impact that that person had on you.
Sure. I want to say it was our annual team meeting or with our leadership team, the December 2023. We just, we were growing like crazy, which, poor us, but it was a lot of chaos, right? From
Yeah.
cash flow and billing and, having the right people on the team. And, we weren't as profitable as I wanted to be. And I was just kind of beside myself at the meeting. But my leadership team, Elizabeth and Sherry, and Sydney at the time, they were incredible. Just like, you're not in this on your own, and we're here to help too, and we're going to figure this out. So sadly, I think I spent half that meeting in tears. But they rallied around me, and the next day was much, much better.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's important to have those folks who right who can carry some of the load and appreciate the bigger picture and willing to pitch, to pitch in and help carry the burden.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you see it too. I mean, being a business owner, right, with 11 to or more employees, it can get pretty lonely.
Yeah.
Because everyone wants to grow professionally. They want more flexibility, more benefits, more pay. And it's,
Yes.
you're trying to do all these things for all these people and keep clients happy and still have a life. And
Yes.
it's it's a lot. You got to surround yourself with good people.
Yeah. And we can't tell our employees that we might be struggling to hit payroll because they're not going to appreciate that, right?
Right. Yeah. They might be like, okay, bye.
Yeah. We know that business success doesn't happen in isolation. So, Rebecca, tell us about one of your biggest challenges over the years and someone who helped to get you through that.
Sure. Well, I had mentioned all the rapid growth.
Hmm.
And then it was early last year, I connected with another coach who had done some COO stuff at another agency. She was reviewing my numbers, and I was kind of upside down, like overstaffed, monthly recurring revenue, and I kind of knew it, but I didn't see it, right? I'm not a accounting expert.
Yeah,
And she said, if you don't make some changes soon, you're going to run out of money, right? Even though your cash flow is strong,
yeah.
you can't pay all these people. Um, so that was really tough to swallow, and
Hmm.
I struggled with that all last spring because we have such a great team and such great people, and
Yeah.
then I feel like some newer people I had brought on board, I let them down because we had to lay them off,
Mm,
and that was the hardest.
yeah.
Um,
And the right thing to do, right? Because now you're able to continue to grow and build the business and yep, lonely at the
yeah,
top, tough challenges that we have
it
to
is.
face as business owners, but
Yeah,
ultimately the right thing to do. Mm.
yeah. I disappeared for a few days.
Yeah, I bet.
That was rough. But I did I helped, one person land with a client. I helped another, we did some subcontract work with her.
Mhm.
Another, a great recommendation. So I did everything I could to make sure they landed as softly as possible too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, I'm gonna put you on the spot here a little bit and ask you, Rebecca, to pick three people in your business owner journey that you're most grateful for them being there for your business's growth. So who are those three people and how they help you?
Gosh. I would say some of my old bosses that ran agencies because
Mhm.
I would never do it that way, but I learned a lot from them. But in the last few years, people that have really been instrumental in my business is actually one client, John Gallagher. I see him as like a mentor and a true supporter, and he'll let us try things in his marketing.
Mm,
But he's fourth generation at his company. So looking at how he continues to stay involved and
wow.
continuous improvement for their facility, it's just an inspiration. I would say Tanya Butterworth, our coach that I've had right now, who's become a really good friend as we've gone through hard stuff the last year and a half together.
Yeah.
She will also call me out if I'm out of line, which is really good, or if
Yeah.
I'm overreacting, because I would never do that, those types of things. And then Elizabeth Carter, she's our senior account manager, and she's been with us, gosh, almost 4 years. Um, she's great because she gets it and really is there for the team,
Mm,
but she's also there for me. But she's also a person that started, as a copywriter, and now she's a senior account manager. And I wish I could clone her. So to look at how she latched on to all the opportunity to grow and make the position her own,
mm.
and all the opportunities we put in front of her, it's been rewarding. And like I said, she's one of the best supporters I have when I need it to.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's important that you mentioned earlier about being lonely at the top. So it's important to have these folks surrounding us that helps us to navigate through all the
Yep.
complexities of growing a business, right?
Yes, yes. I have a fun story about, realizing it really is lonely at the top. It was years ago, and I had, I think I had 5 people on the team, younger, and we were all going to a plant tour, a client visit, and we were taking 3 cars, and all of them rode together, and no one wanted to ride with me.
Oh.
I was like, okay,
Yep.
here's where we are. I get it. Glad they
Rebecca,
have each other.
yes, exactly. Yep. Well, it's good to hear that you've got others, that you can rely on and get that support from because yeah, we're not always going to be able to, you know, have the team be the one that gives us the reassurance and encouragement and hold us
Mhm.
accountable. So, what's been your biggest learning as a business owner?
Oh, so many things. So many things. One of the biggest things that really, we do quarterly surveys for our
Mhm.
employees, and one of the biggest things in the last few, even late last year, was that I need to be a lot more self-aware
Mm,
of how I handle. reactions to things. I have no poker face. But being self-aware and then also taking a pause before responding.
Mm,
So just as again, we've grown and things are more complex. Um, that those are the biggest lessons I've learned for
yeah.
me.
So that's got to be difficult to hear that feedback. So congratulations on right receiving it well and making changes. How do you hold it back and not allow it to come all over your face?
Uh, well, I take that pause and then always reframing, you know, and we've always said, even if people if we make mistakes here, right, it's a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
Um, it's a marketing mistake and everything is pretty much fixable, right? Um, and we do the right thing by the client. If we had their ad budget wrong, we cover it. We had a typo on something, we had to reprint it. Those are, I mean, while that might feel like the end of the world to me, like we did something wrong,
Yeah.
it was just a simple mistake and it could happen to anybody. So it's really having to reframe um, and like I said, that self-awareness and that pause. So before I get upset or overreact, like
Yeah.
have to really think about, is this really worth getting that upset over?
Yeah.
And I keep a mirror actually next to my laptop screen so
Oh,
I can
nice.
see my face because sometimes I'll catch myself like, whoa, I need to
Yeah.
smile more.
It's interesting that the whole mistake idea, right? Is I know I make mistakes daily. Um, and for some reason I'm more understanding of my own mistakes than when a team member makes a mistake that costs the company. And so
Yeah.
I have to remind myself, yep, I make mistakes all the time, right? This is just part of the process and the learning and the growing, but darn it, it
Yeah.
costs
Yeah.
the company money.
Right. Well, and then you see news stories of people who have these massive recalls or something like that. And it's like, well, at least that's not us, right? We had to
Right?
reprint some postcards or something.
Yeah.
There are bigger things that we don't have to worry about.
Indeed. What is one piece of advice or guidance that you would give to a business owner who's feeling discouraged or frustrated in their business, or perhaps even a principle that underpins your success?
Um, I do surround myself with other business owners too, more people like me, because we all feel it.
Hmm.
And I have a couple friends who own other agencies and we do different things. So just getting together and commiserating sometimes. Um, I also, I'm part of the American Marketing Association and other groups like I just go to different events to stay inspired and refreshed, but you meet other people
Yeah,
that are similar to you and form those connections.
yeah.
If I know that if I sit at my desk all day every day, I get a little restless because I like being out meeting people and talking to them and,
Yeah.
sharing our stories. So even part of my scorecard is like I have to have 5 big weekly connects
Okay.
because that keeps me inspired.
Hmm.
And I've used that to reach out to other business owners. Um, Sometimes I'll talk to clients because they're presidents and CEOs as well.
Hmm.
And whether you have, 150 employees or 11, a lot of the issues are very similar.
They sure are. Yeah. And
A lot of people.
it's quite, isn't it interesting that, when we talk with other business owners and we hear that they have similar challenges, that it's very refreshing and reassuring that, oh, so I'm not alone in that. It's
Yeah.
a common thing.
Yep. Yep. I joined a CEO roundtable too.
Hmm.
And my business is quite small compared to some that are in there, like huge construction companies, and they're managing thousands of people. Um, yeah. And they had the same, like, similar people issue that I did
Yeah.
with, one key employee. So I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing that it all comes down to a few key things that
Hmm.
help make successful businesses.
Hmm.
And we all have to go through the same learning curves. It's not like we can read it in a book and just know it. It's, we got to go
Right.
through it.
Well, and I've always been like really a big connector and building your network because you never know.
Mm,
And sometimes it's having that network to say, has anyone gone through this before, or how would you handle this? I have a couple groups on LinkedIn that I'm a part of. The CEO roundtable is one, but even just being able to post that out there on your, your profile with your connections, somebody somewhere has been through it. And most people generally want to help people and help them grow or succeed and not, not make the same mistakes they did. So
Yep.
I always talk about, build your network as soon as you can, because you never know, right? You never know what connection is going to get you there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shifting gears a little bit here, Rebecca, as you think about the next 1 to 2 years, what's your number one focus or priority area or a challenge that you need to resolve to achieve your long-term goals?
We have a couple. Luckily we have our quarterly rocks and our 1 year, 2 year, 3 year plan.
Hmm.
We want to grow top line revenue for sure. We're making sure to add the right people and the right talent to the team. But one thing we worked on is continuing to really refine our process so that we spent a lot of time to level up the team. So we'll continue to do that and invest in training as, AI in many ways has impacted our business just from, content,
Hmm.
but also just automation and CRM. We're doing a lot more CRM consulting with our clients and getting a seat at that, sales table,
Hmm.
which is really important. And then how can we do things more effectively, higher value with not as much, human power on the back end because there's a lot more tools that we can harness.
Yeah,
But that takes time and training.
it sure
That's where we're
does.
headed for this year for sure.
Yes, yes. Time and it's interesting that um, the thing that we often do that we're not really aware of is, and you mentioned it earlier, is that we hire people to help support the growth. But because we're so busy, we don't necessarily, have the time and energy to make sure that those people are productive and efficient. And so
Hmm.
switching, and you mentioned systems. So if we switch the focus in terms of build the systems first, get them documented and processed and then teach people how to run the systems. Now, if a key person leaves, it's still not a good thing, but we can replace that person and teach the new person how to run the system that's already the most efficient and effective way of doing a certain aspect
Right.
of the business. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And we saw that earlier this year. We had an account manager left. She got recruited, lucky
Mm.
her.
Yeah.
Um, but she handled some pretty major accounts. And luckily, a lot of people on the team also touched that. And we know the process and tools. So while there's relationships to build, it was, we weren't starting from ground zero, which was good for us and also very good for the client too.
And again, you mentioned time, right? And a lot of us would like to be able to skip through, right, the systems and the team training, but the reality is that left to our own, we're all
Mhm.
going to be less efficient and less effective than we could be. And so having managers holding the team accountable, right,
Mhm.
and making sure that they're spending their day in the most efficient and effective way, those are the ways that we can increase productivity by, right? Even,
Mhm.
30% or more, we can improve team productivity
Yeah.
by managing them, right?
Yep. And, we look at where we want to be by the end of the year, and we have a lot of people that have a lot of initiative, right? So
Mm.
they're like, I'll take that. I want to own that. And we do a lot of team training. Even in our status meeting, they'll train each other or share
Mhm.
different tips.
Yeah.
So we just continue getting better and learning from each other, which is nice. It's not all on one person.
Right.
But I always tell anyone on their first day, professional development is a personal responsibility,
Hmm.
and they're supported to do it here, like AMA events, webinars, anything else they might want to go to. In fact, last quarter, I think 8 people on our team all had a new certification, whether it was an SEO certification, Google Analytics, some of it was ads, but they all earned certifications and, we're incentivized to do so. But it
Yeah.
makes them better and us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Investing in the team is key. And one of the things that we see often is that people who are great performers may get promoted to be a manager, but then they're not given any training or guidance and direction on how to be a manager. And so unfortunately, they rely on what they know, which is doing, right? So they
Hmm.
just keep doing and not managing the team. So, the companies who invest in management training are the ones that are going to get that, that productivity improvement and set the person up for success.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Well, congrats on investing in your team and training and having it. It sounds like a core principle, which is fantastic.
Hmm.
Rebecca, last question here. Jim Rohn said that we become the average of the five people that we spend the most time with. So, as you think about that quote, what advice would you have for business owners who are trying to do it on their own?
Don't do it on your own. Because you can look at any other business owner that you run into, and they're probably feeling the exact same way.
Mm,
We hired a director of client service earlier this year, and she's so smart. The last two people that have started here know more than I do.
mm,
So surrounding yourself with really good people, and shoot, the team's doing things now that I haven't even, done with AI and things like that. Um, so it's that way, but I also mentioned, the CEO roundtable and things that I'm a part of because it doesn't have to be a like business,
mhm.
but always staying around others to keep you inspired.
Yeah.
I read a lot, I watch a lot of videos, and I read a lot of blogs,
Uh-huh.
a lot. And it keeps me inspired, it gives me ideas, and it keeps me connected to the industry and others and what's happening.
Mm. I've heard folks be worried or hesitant of asking other business owners to share stories and I'd love to hear your perspective. I've never had anybody really say no to a fellow business owner say no to a conversation. What's been your experience?
Same. Most people don't say no. They're willing to share and meet and, help where they can. And if there are some that are not, they're probably not as successful as the ones you want to talk to anyway.
Right?
Um, that's what I always tell my team or others, that I run into at different events that if you ever want to connect, reach out.
Mm.
From we had a collegiate event with AMA, so I got to talk to a lot of students. I'm like, connect with me on LinkedIn and, don't be afraid to reach out to other leaders that you might want to connect with while you're still in school. Like build that, be familiar, be persistent,
Yeah.
pleasantly persistent,
Yeah.
to make those connections. And because it's just important. I mean, well, I don't know who said it, but your network is your net worth.
Hmm. Yeah.
Very similar, and you got to keep building those connections.
I like you said be persistent because successful business owners are busy and right they don't necessarily have the time this week or next week, but again, I've always had people say yes, so it might be, hey, we've got to schedule it out 4 or 6 weeks from now, and or we might have to send a couple of reminders to get it booked on calendars, but
Yeah,
if we want it and we believe in it and we continue to chase after it, then it's most likely going to happen. Yeah.
exactly. Yep. If it matters enough, you'll do it.
Yes, right. So, Rebecca, as you think about the folks who are listening to this, aspiring business owners who want to take their business to the next level, what would be your piece of advice for them?
My biggest piece of advice is, look for coaches and mentors that will help push you and hold you accountable, right? Like
Mhm.
sometimes even when I'm talking to others, I'm like, I don't know what I want. I don't know where I'm headed 5 years from now. I don't know how to answer that question. But to have people ask you the right questions
Mm.
and, put some of those outcomes together, otherwise you'll just sit there and spin your wheels. But it's really connecting with those mentors and having others, again, football team, I rode horses for a while. I always had an instructor or a coach,
Mhm.
even teachers, right? They push you, they hold you accountable. But why would it be any different for a business owner to try and I could do it all myself? No, you can't. You might be able to, but it's not as much fun.
Yeah. You just mentioned having a longer term goal or vision for the business. It's so key. I like what you just said, right? If we don't have that clarity of what we're working towards, then we're just going to flounder. So So for everyone listening, right, if you don't have a long-term goal for your business, that may be a key takeaway from today, and spend some time mapping that out of, what does the business look like when it's done, or what is it in 10
Hmm.
years from now or 5 years from now, so that you've got that clarity on what you're working towards.
Hmm. And it doesn't just have to be revenue either, right? Somebody
Hmm.
talk, I want to be a $5 million company, or I want to make this much money and this much profit. And, we want to have we always talk about clients for life. So we want to build lasting relationships. And, we want to have 5 more of those this year to add to those that we already have. Um, and build a team that's, we want to be sought after to work with and for. So, making sure our team and all the work we do and content we put out there speaks to that too. So it's not just monetary either.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And we should have personal goals too, because right, running a business is hard, and it's a lot easier to be an employee. So if we're going to take that leap
Yeah.
and start our own business, it should be because we want a better life and a better lifestyle. And right, business should give us more life. So we've got to have clarity on, right, what are we working towards personally as well.
Yep. I had to make it a personal goal last year to take at least 2 1-week vacations and be off the
Good for
grid.
you. Yes.
And my team held me accountable. They're like, get out and
Yep.
don't talk to us.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it was, and I did it. It was great.
Good for you. Yes. Yeah, we should not be living to work. We should be working to live and
Hmm.
enjoy the fruits of our labors. Yeah.
Hmm.
Congratulations on the 2 weeks vacation. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Did you
It's the little
increase it
things.
for next year? So does it go up every year?
Um, no, not so much. I mean, I like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
Fair
it's a
enough.
lot of fun. We have a lot of flexibility, in the summer Fridays
Oh,
and
nice.
things like that. So
Yeah,
there's
very.
space for that. And I can work from anywhere, which is nice. So
Mhm.
sometimes I'll work Fridays from the cabin.
Yeah,
There's, different ways to do that too.
wonderful. Rebecca, it sounds like you've been blessed with some incredible people in your business owner journey that have helped you along the way. If they were all here on the show today, what would you want to say to them?
I'd say thank you to those who pushed me, right? Who questioned me. Those who, I mean, inspired me, showed me what to do, what not to do. But I feel like, every experience I had in getting to this point it was worth it. And I've learned something and built some really good relationships and things because of it.
Wonderful. Well, Rebecca, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Self-Made is a Myth show. Please help spread this movement by liking and subscribing to our show and following us on Facebook and LinkedIn. To join our movement, go to bemadtogether.com. Okay, folks, that's a wrap. Please pay it forward and be sure to tune in next time to the Self-Made is a Myth podcast.